magnificent. There was nothing to fear, for the man was always so gentle, so kind. At night, when the little girl and her brother were bed in the light of the big shaded bulb that hung over the big study table in the downstairs hall, the man would knock gently on the door and come in. He would stand for a while just beyond the pool of light, his feet in the corner of illumination, the rest of him in shadow. The little girl and her brother would look up at him where they sat at the big table, their eyes bright in the bright light, and watch him come fully into the light. But his voice soft, his manners low. He would smell very faintly of sweet and pomade, but the children didn't mind, although they did not notice, for they waited for him every evening as they sat at their lesson like this. He'd throw his visited cup on the table, and it would fall down with a soft plop. Then he'd nod his head to say one was right, or shake it to say one was wrong. It was not always that he came. They would remember perhaps 2 weeks when he remarked to their mother that he had never seen two children looking so smart. The praise had made their mother look over them as they stood around listening to the going-ons at the meeting of the neighborhood association, of which their mother was a president. 2 children, one a girl of 7 and a boy of 8. They were both very tall for their age, and their legs were the long, gangly legs of the fine-spirited colts. Their mother saw them with eyes that held pride, and the partly closed over the paternal clothing she exhibited. She said to the man, in answer to his praise, "But their homework? They're so lazy with them." And the man said, "I have nothing to do in the evenings. Let me help them." Mother nodded her head and said, "If you want to bother yourself," and the thing rested there. And the man came in the evenings, therefore, and he helped solve fraction for the boy and write correct phrases in language for the little girl. It was not always that he came. They would remember perhaps 2 weeks when he remarked to their mother that he had never seen 2 children looking so smart. The praise had made their mother look over them as they stood around listening to the going-ons at the meeting of the neighborhood association, of which their mother was a president. 2 children, one a girl of 7 and a boy of 8. They were both very tall for their age, and their legs were the long, gangly legs of the fine-spirited colts. Their mother saw them with eyes that held pride, and the partly closed over the paternal clothing she exhibited. She said to the man, in answer to his praise, "But their homework? They're so lazy with them." And the man said, "I have nothing to do in the evenings. Let me help them." Mother nodded her head and said, "If you want to bother yourself," and the thing rested there. And the man came in the evenings, therefore, and he helped solve fraction for the boy and write correct phrases in language for the little girl. Add to the man gentleness and his kindness in knowing a child's desires, his promise that he would give each of them not 1 pencil but 2. And for the little girl, who he said was a very bright and deserved more, he would get a bigger pencil he could find. One evening he did not bring them. The evenings of waitings had made them look forward for this final giving, and when they got the pencils, they whooped with joy. The little boy had 2 pencils, 1 green, 1 blue, and the little girl had 3 pencils, 2 of the same circumference as the little boy's but colored red and yellow, and a 3rd pencil, a jumbo-sized pencil, really, was white and had been sharpened, and the little girl jumped up and down and shouted with glee, until her mother called from down the stairs, "What are you shouting about?" And they told her, shouting gladly, Vicente, for that was his name. Vicente had brought the pencils he had promised them. "Thank him," their mother called. The little boy smiled and said, "Thank you," and the little girl smiled and said, "Thank you too." But the man said, "Are you not going to kiss me for those pencils?" They both came forward, the little girl and the little boy, and they both made to kiss him, but Vicente slapped the boy smartly on his lean hips and said, "Boys do not kiss boys." And the little boy laughed and scampered away, and then ran back and kissed him and away. The little boy went up to the man shyly, put her arms about his neck, and he crouched to receive her embrace and kissed him on the cheeks. The man's arm tightened suddenly about the little girl until the little girl squirted out of his arms, and laughed a little breathlessly, disturbed but innocent, looking at the man with a smiling little question of puzzlement. The next evening, he came around again. All through that day, they had been very proud in school, showing off their brand new pencils. All the little girls and boys had been envying them, and their mother had finally to tell them to stop talking about the pencils, for now. That they had the boy 2 and the girl 3. They were asking their mother to buy more, so they could each have 5, and 3 at least the jumbo size that the little girl's 3rd pencil was. Their mother said, "Oh, stop it. What will you do with so many pencils? You can only write with 1 at a time." And the little girl muttered under her breath, "I'll ask Vicente for some more." Their mother replied, "He's only a bus conductor. Don't ask her too many things. It's a pity." And this observation of mother said to their father, who was eating his evening meal between paragraphs of the book of Masari Rights that he was reading. "It is a pity," said their mother. "People look those. They make friends with people like us, and they feel it is nice to give us gifts, or the children toys and things. You'd think they wouldn't be able to afford it?" The mother grunted and said, "The man probably needed a new job and was softening his way through it to him to by going to the children like that." And the mother said, "No, I don't think so. He's a rather queer young man. I think he doesn't have many friends, but I watched him with the children and he seemed to dote on them." The father grunted again and did not pay any further attention. The little girl looked at her mother and saw the beloved face transfigured by some sort of glow. The mother kept coming into the light, and when Vicente made as if to move away into a shadow, she said very low but very heavily, "Do not move." She put a glass of soft drinks down on the table, where in the light of one could watch the little girl bubbles go up and down into the dark liquid. The mother said to the boy, "Oscar, finish your lessons," and turning to the knelt down, for she was a tall woman, and she said, "Turn around." Obediently, the little girl turned around, and her mother passed her hands over the little girl's back. "Go upstairs," she said. The mother's voice was of such a heavy quality, of such awful timbre, that the girl could only nod her head, and without looking at Vicente again, she raced up the stairs. The mother went to the cowering man and marched him with a glance out of the circle of light that held the little boy. Once in the shadow, she extended her hand and without any opposition took away the paper that Vicente was holding to himself. She stood there saying nothing as the man fumbled with his hands and with his fingers, and she waited until he had finished. She was going to open her mouth, but she glanced at the boy and closed it, and with a look and an inclination of the head, she bade Vicente to go up the stairs. The man said nothing, for she said nothing either. Up the stairs went the man, and the mother followed behind. When they had reached the upper landing, the mother called down to her son, "Son, come up and go to your room." The little boy did as he was told, asking no question, for indeed he was feeling sleepy already. As soon as the boy was gone, the mother turned on Vicente. There was a pause. Finally, the woman raised her hand and slapped him full hard in the face. He retreated down one tread of the stairs with one force of the blow, but the mother followed him. With her other hand, she slapped him on the other side of the face again. And so down the stairs they went, the man backwards, his face continually up in the force of the woman's slapping. Alternately, she lifted her right hand and made him retreat before her until he reached the bottom landing. He made no resistance, offered no defense. Before the silence and the grimness of her attacks, he cowered, retreating until one of his mouth issued something like a whimper. Mother thus shut his mouth, and with those hard, forceful slaps, she escorted him right to the other door. As soon as the cool air of the free night touched him, he cowered enough to turn away and run into the shadow that ate him up. The woman looked after him and closed the door. She turned off all the blazing light over the study table and went slowly up the stairs and out into the dark night. When her mother reached her, and the woman held her hand out to the child, always also with a terrible indelibility that one associated with terror, the girl was to remember the touch of that hand on her shoulder, heavy, eating at her flesh, the woman herself stricken almost dumb, but her eyes eloquent with that anger fire. She knelt, she felt the little girl's dress, and took it off with a haste that was almost frantic, tearing at the buttons and imparting a terror to the little girl that almost made her sob. "Hush," the mother said, "take a bath quickly." Her mother presided over the bath the little girl took, scrubbed her and soaked her, and then wiped her gently all over and changed her into new clothes that smelled of the clean, fresh smell of the clothes that had hung in the light of the sun. The clothes that he had taken off the little girl, she bundled into the tight wrench bunch, which she threw into the kitchen range. "Take also the pencil," said the mother to the watching newly bed. You will change the child. Take them and throw them into the fire. But when the girl turned to comply, the mother said, No, tomorrow will do. And taking the little girl by the hand, she led her to her little girl's bed, made her lie down, and tugged the covers gently about her as the girl dropped off into a quick slumber. The end. That was a great story written for a Filipino who showcased the strong attitude of a mother in how she is ready to dive into a situation, whether it is threatening or not, just to protect its children. So I have here the first question: how is the mother portrayed in the story and what makes her magnificent? So for me, the mother portrayed how strong and observant, and even how she protects her daughter and son. She is indeed a mother who will always be observant even when no one's doubt the situation. She is very observant and she worries for its children. She is magnificent for me because she was able to save her daughter from the harm. Next is what social issues about women and children are shown in the story. So the social issues portrayed in the story is about the poverty, that also domestic struggles and social inequality. It also talk about that this means that we women are often faced the vulnerability and even children faced situation that women are easily be victim in this kind of harm. And it would really be up to us, a woman, who will speak up and protect ourselves. If no one did, we must stand up and show up for ourselves. Next is, how does the story challenge traditional views of women as a weak or a passive? So in this one, so the mother takes action, right? And she makes decision and even show the courage. She has a courage to protect and stand for its children, especially for her daughter. Even proves that women can be strong and decisive and protective. Next is, if the mother didn't act that way she did, what could have happened? Of course, the daughter might have faced a larger trauma and maybe caused her being harmed, or even worse, a tragedy. The scene that the mother have captive is that was the final straw for her to keep her daughter away from that man, even though it helped them for their studies. For her, that was that man is a red flag and harm for its children. And next is, in today's society, how can women show the same strength and courage? Of course, as a woman, we must know our rights, standing up for it and believing to ourselves, because we are not supposed to just rely on men. We also have strength, and in today's generation, we also have to learn basic self-defense and also our rights, knowing our own rights here in our country. We must always remember that we are no longer in a medieval period where we women can do what men can do, and we are stronger than we think we are. We just need to stand and know our own rights.